Hello again, Internet. So, on to the nitty gritty questions I promised. So when did I first experience depression? Well, I'll start by saying that I am an introvert. I'm kind of shy. I tend to be kind of a loner. And while some of the more introverted tendencies of mine may seem like depression, some of it could just be plain introversion, just that I tend to be alone. I tend to be in my thoughts more. Um, but when did I first experience depression? I will say that since my childhood, I have had feelings of inadequacy and feelings of not being good enough, contrary to the accolades and the honors and the grades and all the fun stuff showered on me by my teachers and my parents and things like that. I was a nerd, plain and simple. I was a nerd. I did do pretty well in school, but despite that, I guess I still felt unworthy. Not to the degree that I feel unworthy now, but I did have feelings even as early as 6 or 7 that I couldn't really do much right. I did fine in school, but I was lacking everywhere else. Thinking back on it, I'm not sure how substantial those claims are, but they were apparently strong enough to kind of build up to where I am now. Was I picked on in school? Not particularly. I didn't have like a dedicated bully. I definitely wasn't physically touched, although in combination of my size and I guess my hard face that some people have told me I have, maybe that was enough to deter any potential bullies. I wasn't touched or abused physically, but there were some times that I can remember where I was called a nerd or a geek or things like that just because I got good grades, and I can't remember times where I was a bit of a teacher's pet as well. Um, I did feel most, I guess, worth it at school just because that was a place that I could excel and I got rewarded for that. My mom was one of those parents that gave us money, me and my brother gave us money when we got good grades. And that was the main incentive I needed. And it helped that since I didn't really have to try hard to excel in school, it was just easy money to me. I'll go into the effects of that probably in a later question or a later video. So I've only recently been receiving some kind of outside help or counseling or guidance regarding my mental stuff. So why haven't I gone to somebody since way back when? Well, for one, I really didn't think it was that big of a deal when I was a kid or when I was in middle school or high school or even the first years of college, just that I guess this is just how I am. I just saw it as a personality thing. I didn't see it as a mental disorder. And I do think that I'm probably not alone in thinking that some people suffering from depression might still think that it's just part of their personality, or some people suffering from depression or anxiety may think, as I did, that what can you do? This is just who I am. Not realizing that it is a serious and diagnosable issue. Another reason why I may not have gone to somebody since then is that I really didn't know there were resources available for this kind of thing, and there really are. And even if I knew there were resources available, what would I have told my mom? Because my mom is one of those island moms, those good Christian moms that think that, for one, depression or anxiety or any kind of mental illness is nowhere near as severe as it really is. And that prayer or positive thinking should be enough to quell the thoughts and cure yourself. And it's kind of the equivalent of just telling somebody to get over it. And I know I speak to everybody that suffered depression and heard that get over it is probably one of the worst things you can tell us. For one, it trivializes what we're going through, and for two, it kind of makes us trivialize it ourselves. And when we trivialize it ourselves, that makes us a lot less likely to talk about it. And in some unfortunate cases, it could lead to somebody harming themselves. And then when somebody does finally make that final choice, you'll have people saying, why didn't they say anything? And not to be blunt, but we don't say anything because of attitudes like that, saying just get over it. Like, if we tell somebody what's going on in our head and we don't think it's taken seriously, we're just a lot less likely to tell you. So that would be why it's taken me so long to actually seek the help I say seek help, but I'll get to that later. But that's why it's taken me so long to get the help, just because, one, I didn't realize what I had was an actual thing, and two, even if I did realize it was an actual thing, because of my mom and kind of the environment I went in, I really didn't think it was something that needed help. And I've heard the comparison before that, or I've observed it before, that if you tell somebody that you didn't want to get out of bed today because you have a bad back or your leg hurts, everybody will shower sympathy on you. If you tell somebody you didn't want to get out of bed because you were depressed, because in your mind, the act of even moving yourself from your bed was more effort than you wanted to expend, very rarely will you get sympathy for it. Very rarely. And that's unfortunately the reality. So how has my depression from way back when impacted me now? That's actually a tough question for me to answer because, again, as I've said before, I honestly don't remember much aside from thoughts like this. Just feelings that I don't matter, feelings that I'm not good enough, feelings that what's really the point of my life. And the thing with how I feel is that life can be awesome. Life can be truly great and truly magnanimous for other people. That doesn't include me. And somewhere in my heart and mind, I've actually accepted that. Just like I don't really see things as looking up for me. I have fluctuations in that naturally. Sometimes, some days are definitely better than others, and some days are definitely worse than others. But on the whole, I tend not to have a pretty optimistic look for my own life. I'm happy as can be for other people when good things happen for them. But when it comes to me, I'm fine with, I guess, not having a lucky day. These feelings of unworthiness have definitely made me less celebratory and less, what's the word I'm looking for? Less likely to, I guess, live. When not speaking as not speaking in the case of like ending it, less likely to live as in getting out there and enjoying life. Because, well, this probably has nothing to do with my depression, but I actually don't really try much. I'm not really sure what my interests are. Um, Besides video games, there's not really much I can say I like going out and doing. And especially since me being a loner and coming from a background where I don't really have a lot of friends, I haven't really had a lot of friends back then and even now, that I'm not really sure what there is to do. So it has made me, my depression has made me a little bit stunted when it comes to that. Um, there are a few people that I have become incredibly close to over the recent months and years, and even now I have great difficulty in calling them or asking about them. One because I really don't have much to say about what I've been doing because of aforementioned reasons, and for two, I don't know if they want to hear from me. By my own admission, I'm a pretty boring person, and when I think about them in their professional lives and in their own personal lives, I can't help but feeling that I don't have a place there. And they've told me time and time again how wrong that feeling is, and I can't really believe it myself. And that's another daily issue and daily fight when it comes to people that suffer from this, is that we really do have a hard time believing any praise or any accolades or any reassurances we hear. You can shower it on us as much as you want, and and there are times I just don't believe it. And it isn't as though I think you're wrong or you're just saying things. It's just that it goes so contrary to what I've been telling myself for so long that I don't believe it. It's as if a normal person lived their entire life looking up at the sky and saying that it's blue, and having somebody come and tell you and try to reassure you constantly that the sky is really green. Just like, that's so different from what you've experienced for so long that why would you believe it? But I guess that's just how it's influenced me now, that I have kind of a dour look on my own prospects. But I've recently starting to get a little bit of hope and feeling a little bit optimistic, very cautiously optimistic, due in part to some of the friends that I made very recently. And I guess that's kind of what I want to share with anybody listening that may be in the depths of it, because I know full well how bad it can be when you're in the major depths of it. You really when it's gotten bad for me, I didn't want to move. I moved my eyes and I adjusted my head while I laid in bed, and that was it. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to eat. I ate maybe once. The most recent depressive episode I had in recent memory it lasted a good 3 days, and I ate maybe 3 times in those 3 days, just one meal. Like, I just did not feel hungry. I didn't feel like talking to anybody. I didn't feel like doing anything. And it wasn't fun. It really wasn't fun. And when it gets like that, they say one of the cures is to contact somebody that cares about you. But how can we, or all right, how can I in good conscience impact somebody else with that? When I've been in my worst days, I wouldn't want anybody else to feel that. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So calling somebody and talking about it, to me, was, however subtly, giving them that feeling, and I definitely didn't want that. But there were times where I did contact somebody that cared about me and I value their companionship, and I left the phone call or left the talk feeling very good. So I guess one of the first pieces of advice I give to people like us that suffer from this is that even if it hurts, like, I guess talk to somebody. Go, if you believe that there's nobody in your real life, in your real circle of friends, or in your real family members that you can talk to that will really understand and appreciate what you're going through, then there's definitely online forums and hotlines that you can contact and communicate through that may be able to help. I know that I've personally posted online in depression forums, and I have gotten some good feedback from those, even from years ago. Some I posted to anonymously, and some I made an account and made some posts in that, like that. But I guess, yeah, just talk to somebody, or hell, talk to me. I'll leave some contact information in this video, and maybe it's hard to, well, that's another thing. Sometimes it is very easy to open up to strangers, and it's more easy to open up to strangers than it is to open up to those you know, and I'm well aware of that feeling. But this video has gone on for a bit too long anyway, and I don't want to reveal so much now. I've already revealed a lot, but there's definitely a lot more to talk about. So I'll see you next video.